Now, iPads could soon be on school stationery lists. Orewa College has been one of the first to make a move, making it compulsory for all Year 9 students to bring a portable computer to school next year. And the school's preference, an iPad too. And with the newest Apple gadget selling for at least $800, it's sparking debate. Is this where education is heading? Well, according to the Secondary Principals Association, it is. And joining me now is its president, Patrick Walsh. Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. You're welcome.
So, kids with iPads at school, you think that's likely to be a necessity, Mr. Walsh?
I think it is. When we look at what the government requires and what parents demand as a 21st century education, iPads and iPhones are certainly the way to go, and that's been borne out by other jurisdictions, including Australia.
OK, the Ministry of Education says it's up to individual schools to decide which tools best support learning as they progress through the school system. Isn't that a bit of a cop-out? Shouldn't the Ministry of Education make that decision on behalf of our education system?
I think you're right, and the Ministry of Education has the ability to bulk buy these sorts of purchases and pass those discounts on to schools. Also make the point that the Ministry are rolling out the ultra-fast broadband to all schools in New Zealand, but there's very little point in doing that if we don't have the resources within the schools, such as laptops and iPads for students to use.
Yes, well, once upon a time, the Ministry of Education provided the tools and resources, didn't they, from blackboards to whiteboards, overhead projectors. Now that today's technology is iPads and laptops, should the Ministry have been planning for this, do you think? They should be providing this technology, surely.
I think that's the obligation upon the Ministry, and certainly in schools which are in lower decile areas, those are the sorts of schools that need greater support from the Ministry of Education, as opposed to those in wealthier areas where the parents can make their contribution.
At the moment, though, what would be your advice to parents watching right now who can't afford to buy a laptop or an iPad too?
My understanding is most principals that are going down this track, in fact, have made provision for parents who can't afford it, including a long lead-in time, fundraising, and in some cases schools have set up discrete funds that parents can apply to be able to purchase those iPads and iPhones for their children. OK,
there are some issues that will surround children having this kind of technology at school. Overnight we received some emails on the subject. I'll read from one of those emails. It's a mother who's written in, and she said it hasn't turned out to be very successful. Often children have to buddy up with kids that have laptops or notebooks because not everybody has these. The kids are accessing R18 downloads in the playground because this particular school has wireless internet. It's created attitude problems at home. My child wants to be on that instead of doing conventional homework. And his writing, she says, is dreadful now. There perhaps needs to be some research, surely, about this before it's just introduced nationwide across all schools.
There are risks to using technology, and it's recognised by schools. They put in place security measures to overcome that, but overwhelming the research indicates that the use of devices such as iPads have huge educational benefit for students.
I would think there are some security issues around children with iPads as well. I would have thought if you've got some 200 or 300 children walking to and from Orewa school every day with iPads in their backpacks, does that not perhaps make them vulnerable to criminals?
Perhaps, but schools think through those security issues, and often the iPads are put in a secure place at the beginning of the day. Students use them and they're delivered to the students at the end of the day, or in fact in many cases kept at school overnight. OK, but clearly, Mr Walsh, you see this as a major change in the way our children are going to be taught in future. We're seeing a shift away from lectures and perhaps a shift towards self-directing when it comes to learning. Absolutely, and that's the way of the future. I think that's what employers want. That's what they're going to be using at universities, and both the government and parents can see clearly the benefits of this. The bottom line comes down to who pays for it, and in my view, I think that's a government responsibility.
Less emphasis, do you think, Mr Walsh, on handwriting in future, more emphasis on being computer literate?
I think it's a combination of both. Technology is simply a tool, and the focus is on raising literacy and numeracy standards in secondary schools, but certainly technology is of great assistance in that as well.
All right, Patrick Walsh, I do appreciate your time and your analysis this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.